Hello everyone, it's Georgia down in Australia, and this is the first project for my October 2024 challenge, which is a bit of a continuation on something I started over a year ago, I believe, which I had these really great plans. The project was called Our Father 2023, I think. I think I started this at the beginning of last year, and my plan was to take a line from the Lord's Prayer every month and art it. Now, things happened, life got in the way, and it kind of stalled. So I've decided to use this month to do a bit of a binge on it. I know I always say don't binge the art challenges and try and catch up, but this is going to be my version of doing an art binge. I'm planning to finish the Arting the Prayer this month. So far we have a very, very simple journal that we made, and mine is simply a piece of scrapbooking cardstock and photocopy paper, and very simple cover. And I still have not made my title page, which will be the entire prayer. So far, the story so far: Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Now today we are going to work on Thy Kingdom Come, and of course you can do this any way you like. I have got a little bit of inspiration from a little video that I watched on Instagram, that this was actually done using a musical treble clef, and I thought, oh, that is so cool. What if I used that idea but put it onto a word? So what I'm going to do is, now you could do this for all three words, Thy Kingdom Come, but I think it's going to be a bit much. So I'm going to write Thy kind of smallish, and I'm not worrying too much about the neatness of my writing at the moment. Now kingdom is going to be my major word, so I'm making it quite large. Now you do want your word to be fairly big for what we're doing, because otherwise the detail will be lost and it will just look like little dots and things. Look at my writing, it starts really big and then it squishes up and becomes smaller. I need to work on this. Maybe I should rule lines like a normal person. Thy kingdom come. Now I have a sort of half idea of something I want to do at the bottom, but we'll see how that goes. Now we are going to cover kingdom with tiny little people. And my thought for this is that the kingdom of God is among us and in us. So I want to have lots and lots of little people, and you'll need 4 colors for this. You can do 3, you can do 5, whatever you like. But if you do 4, I think it keeps it neater and not so muddled. So choose 4 colors. I am using green, red, purple, and yellow. I'm actually using liturgical colors because I want my people on my page to kind of reflect the kingdom among us being the church. I don't know if that wolf was over my word. We'll find out when I'm editing. I do have my little doggy in the room with me. Okay, but of course you can use any colors you like. So I'm going to start. We're going to use the colors one at a time. And I'm going to use green to begin with, and you don't need very much. Now, the video that I watched, this lady actually used what looked like alcohol markers, the kind of thick on one side and thin on the other. And so she just went around just going dab, 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 which made life a whole lot easier. I'm doing mine with acrylic paint and a tiny paintbrush. And what you want to do is just do little strokes. I'm just going to bring this in closer. Okay, so I've come in a bit closer. You can see the bleed through from the previous page, but I'm not going to worry about that. And you don't want to cover the entire area because you're going to have 4 different colors going on here. So you're doing 1 color at a time, and you're doing these little dabs, and these are basically the bodies of the people. And I'm doing them on both sides of my drawn line. I'm not being exact with the measuring. I'm trying to keep them kind of the same size if possible. So keeping in mind that we're going to have 4 colours, whoops, and don't stress too much about how perfect they are and how straight your little lines are. Again, if you have a mark, if you're doing this with markers, it would be a whole lot easier if you use the thick side of your marker to just make little straight, thick lines. Now, if you're not sure about the space that you're leaving between them and whether you'll have enough space, or rather if you've left too much space and once you've done all 4 colours you might have too much blank in between them, don't worry, because you can always come back and do a second run through. Now also put a few little ones here and there outside of the word. They will be like people who are on their way in or making their way to the kingdom, if that makes any sense. So just a few little odd, not too many, you don't want to take the focus away from the word. So that's my green. I'm now going to go through the same process but with purple. So putting my little purple people in spaces in between the greens, again just randomly. I'm not trying to create any particular pattern, and not forgetting my occasional outside person. And there we have my purple people. And now moving on to red, and the same process all over again. And have lots and lots of these little people, have them really close together, because you're going to have them holding hands. So you want to have lots and lots of them, and their little hand holding will be kind of subtle. Now before I add my yellow, I'm going to let this dry very well because I want to rub out the lines of the word, because I know that yellow is a little bit more translucent than these other colours, and if I paint over the lead pencil lines, I will see the lines through the yellow paint. So I'm just going to let that dry, rub out the lines, and then I'll do my yellow people. And that's the yellow done. Now I'm almost happy with it, but when I look at the spacing, there are some areas like right up here, maybe there, that I just need a few more bits of color, and I don't want to do them in yellow because there'll be too many yellows in the same spot. So I'm just going to do a few little touch-ups to fill those tiny gaps, which really don't matter so much. And then we'll do the fun part of actually turning these little colored bits into people. So once all the colors are done, you might look at this and go, this does not look like people at all. What on earth? It's just a whole lot of colored blobs. But now we start doing the fun bit, which turns these blobs into people. So first of all, we're going to put heads on them, and I'm using a thin black Posca paint pen, and all I'm doing is going around and putting a little circle on top of each one. Not too big, because you need to keep it in proportion to the body, so to speak. But just little circles all the way along. And don't forget your little outstanding people. And when you're doing this, don't think that you have to do it perfectly and that each one has to be exactly the same and the perfect size. The fact that they are lopsided and all different, and some of them not quite connected to the bodies, kind of makes them more lifelike, I think. So just go through doing your little dotty circles. Don't overthink about what you're doing and where you're placing them, just somewhere on the top and not too big. So you've got all these little people, or these two. All these little people. I know the lighting is not so great in here, we're still working on that. But so they're starting to look a bit more like people now, aren't they? So the next thing I'm going to do is grab a thinner marker. So I'm going to use one of my fake microns. They look like microns, but they're not. And I'm using a very thin one. And I'm going to go through and give these people arms and legs. And I'm going to do it in such a way that some of them look like they're holding hands. Now, some of them you might not really have space to put the legs if it's sort of overcrowded and there's too many in front, so don't worry about that. But do make sure that you give them arms, and be careful as you're doing this. I know this is a very mindful activity, and so you tend to just sort of roll along the page doing these little strokes, but be careful that you only give them 2 arms each. I know that seems a really silly thing to say, but sometimes when we're doing this sort of thing, you might go, oh, there's a blank space, I'll do another line here or something like that. And then you'll look back and go, oh, I just gave that person 3 arms or 4 arms. And then instead of having people, you've got little insects. So just going along, and of course not forgetting our outside people. And you can have them going in all sorts of different directions so that they look animated and like they're doing something. And make them kind of fun. Don't be too stressed about what they're looking like. These are just cute little fun doodle people. And as you're going along and just doing very rough little doodle lines for their arms and legs, you'll find if you don't think about it too much and just doodle your way through it, that these little people sort of come to life and have their own little motion and their own direction of where they're going. Okay, so that's my fun little people, and they look kind of cute, look like little people sort of. These look like little insects, I don't know, but I'm sure you get the point. But they kind of look flat. So I'm going to do something that, again, stolen from this video that I saw on Instagram, but this gives them a little bit of dimension and 3Dness, and it's such a tiny simple thing, but it makes a world of a difference. I'm actually going to start on this side because the page is whiter than here, so you'll be able to get a better idea of what this looks like. I'm getting a very light grey paint, so I'm using Mineral from Dina Wakley, and I'm going to water it down heaps. Now, if you're using markers for this, then use the lightest grey that you have. If you're using something like coloured pencils or crayons, use a very light grey or another colour, but well, you want a shadow colour, and very, very light grey kind of works for me. And I'm really watering it down because I don't want this to be too obvious. And what I'm going to do is just give some of these people, not all of them, most of them, a shadow. Now what you need to do first of all is decide where is the light coming from on your page so that all your shadows are pointing in the same direction. So I'm going to say my sun or my light is over here. And so all my shadows are going to be falling on the left hand side. And it's just a matter of making these tiny little, whoops, that's too big already, tiny little mark next to some of these, just next to them, sort of touching, just touching the side of your person, and then dragging it out. That's kind of a long one, but that's okay. Now I know that this paint is going to dry a little bit lighter, so I'm not too worried that it's kind of looking dark right now. And when I get to the place where there's lots and lots of people, I'm not doing every single person because that will kind of distract from it rather than giving it that cool little shadowy look. I'm just going to go along and just do most of them. But you know, where there are 2 people next to each other, I'm not doing 2 shadows, I'm just doing the shadow of the one on the most left side of the page. And that kind of makes such a difference to the look of your page. Now it kind of looks like actual little people walking along with their shadows, or so I think so anyway. I don't know, maybe I'm being a little bit too hopeful. Now the rest of my page I am not going to do as part of this video because time is running out and I really need to get it finished quickly so I can get this Our Father challenge going. But this was a tutorial really in how to do the people. So we've done that bit. I'm going to now do something about the 2 other words, Thy Kingdom Come, in not quite quite sure what I'm going to do. I'm not going to decorate the rest of the page too much because I want the focus to be on this kingdom area. So I might just add some sort of colour around the border. Not quite sure. I'll see what happens as I'm doing it. And I will pop the finished page onto the end of this video. So I've gone for a very simple, kind of whimsical top and bottom of the page. There's grass and flowery things, sunshine, clouds. And I've just kept those two other words nice and simple. So we've got Thy Kingdom Come, and all the focus being on the word kingdom. So that is my page for Thy Kingdom Come, part 4 of the Our Father Challenge, being run on my Patreon channel and in my Facebook group, God's Refrigerator. So all the links to my social places will be in the description below. Come on over and join us. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.